Imagine this. It is 3:07 a.m. Your city sleeps under sodium lamplight, but you are wide awake, scrolling through promises. Each thumbnail is a cathedral of better abs, cleaner diets, morning routines that smell of eucalyptus and discipline. You swallow them like communion wafers, yet the hunger claws louder. You whisper, "If I just fix one more habit, I will finally be enough." The room answers with a hum of the refrigerator, indifferent, mechanical, eternal. Now, picture the contradiction. Every book you finish births two more on your nightstand. Every meditation app installs a fresh notification to remind you you're still not mindful enough. The more you optimize, the more deficit you feel. The bar rises like a helium balloon you can never clutch. Is the self a project to complete? Or is the project a leash you forge link by link? Feel the tension tighten. You have outsourced your worth to dashboards, steps, heart rate, streaks, likes. You have turned the soul into a KPI. Who told you improvement was a moral duty? Who whispered that without perpetual escalation you would be condemned to mediocrity? Or worse, invisibility? Rhetorical lightning. What if every ladder you climb is leaning against a wall you did not choose? What if the summit you chase is only a mirage receding at the speed of your striving? What if the very language of better is a Trojan horse wheeled inside the gates of your psyche by forces that profit from your perpetual inadequacy? Feel the weight settle on your sternum. You cannot rest, because rest is framed as regression. You cannot celebrate, because celebration slows momentum. You are both prisoner and guard, pacing a cell whose walls are made of unread productivity manuals. Pause, listen. Somewhere beneath the metrics, a quieter voice asks, whose future are you rushing toward? What part of you is being amputated to fit the mold of who you are told you must become? But the voice is drowned by the algorithmic choir chanting, more, faster, stronger. And so the question that will haunt the next 15 minutes, is the pursuit of self-improvement the highest form of self-neglect? Hold that question like a shard of ice against your pulse. In the silence that follows, we will descend past the slogans, past the fluorescent optimism of TED stages, into the catacombs where the dark truth waits, patient and unblinking. You were taught the fault lies inside you, not in the structure of the market, not in the grammar of the culture, inside. Carl Jung warned that every individual shadow eventually becomes collective. What we refuse to see in ourselves is projected onto the world as advertising. So the market studied your insomnia, bottled it, and sold it back as lavender-scented sleep spray. The same century that discovered the unconscious perfected its monetization. Nietzsche saw it coming. Man is something that shall be overcome, he wrote, sounding like a Silicon Valley slogan before its time. But he also added the forgotten clause. This overcoming must be toward the Übermensch, not toward the unmensch, the depleted, optimized ghost who mistakes exhaustion for ascension. The will to power has been hijacked by the will to brand. Psychology conspires. The hedonic treadmill keeps you sprinting. Dopaminergic reward circuits spike not at arrival but at anticipation. The app designers know this. They sprinkle intermittent reinforcement like casino carpets, ensuring the chase never climaxes. Meanwhile, Viktor Frankl's will to meaning is quietly rewritten as will to metrics. Purpose becomes a subscription model. Society amplifies the whisper. Neoliberalism privatizes even your inadequacies, turning them into entrepreneurial opportunities. The language shifts. You're no longer sad. You are underperforming in emotional resilience, a gap to be disrupted. Every flaw is a potential revenue stream. Biohack it, microdose it, gamify it. The external scaffolding of culture is painted to look like internal scaffolding of character. Identity liquefies. You are encouraged to curate a self that is perpetually in beta because final versions lose market value. LinkedIn becomes confession booth and pulpit combined. Each update a small prayer for incremental elevation. The result, a chronic background anxiety that you are always one insight away from irrelevance. And beneath it all, the deeper root, the terror that if you stop striving, you will discover there was no solid self beneath the improvements, only an echo chamber of borrowed desires. So you keep adding floors to a skyscraper built on fog, afraid to test a foundation. Tension tightens further. You sense the trap, yet naming it feels like heresy. After all, who dares speak against growth? But remember Nietzsche's caution. Becoming who you are is not a process of accumulation. It is a process of selective annihilation. Something must be burned for light to appear. Hold the match. Next, we walk into the smoke and see what silently catches fire. Imagine the invisible architecture, now revealed. Every metric you chase rewires your neurons. The anterior cingulate learns to equate self-worth with error reduction, shrinking tolerance for ambiguity. The amygdala, once an alarm for mortal danger, now fires at unread emails. Confirmation bias curates your feed, so that only perfect specimens populate your peripheral vision, shrinking your world to a corridor of impossible silhouettes. Cultural osmosis does the rest. Childhood fairy tales reward the hard-working third pig. School grades rank effort into a single column. Corporate dashboards immortalize quarterly growth. By 30, your vocabulary for virtue has been reduced to upward mobility, upward trajectory, upward spiral. Downward is failure. Lateral is stagnation. You forget that depth is also a direction. Neurologically, chronic cortisol carves grooves that bias memory towards shortcomings and erase the taste of present satisfaction. You misremember yesterday as lesser, so that tomorrow feels compulsory. Meanwhile, the economy harvests your cortisol. The supplement industry alone is worth $150 billion, selling you the antidote to the anxiety it helped author. Society externalizes the cost. Burnout wards fill. Relationships flatten into networking transactions. Artists apologize for unoptimized days spent staring at clouds. Collective attention span shrinks to the length of a reel, yet the expectation of lifelong reinvention lengthens to infinity. The result: a population that can binge an entire season in one night, but cannot sit with its own silence for 3 breaths, and hear the quiet horror. The more perfectly you perform the ideal, the more the ideal mutates. The algorithm senses completion and raises the threshold. Like Tantalus, the fruit recedes each time your lips approach. You are left perpetually pre-finished, a human perpetual beta. Feel the urgency now. If the map is written by the market, every step forward may actually be a step deeper into a labyrinth whose walls are mirrors. You are chasing reflections, and the Minotaur at the center is the version of you that never arrives. The fire is no longer metaphorical. In the next section, we will walk through the flames, not to burn, but to see what remains when the scaffolding of borrowed desire is turned to ash. Listen, here is the sound of the leash snapping. A single, deliberate refusal. Not a tantrum, not laziness, but Nietzsche's a more fatty, turned outward. Love what cannot be improved because it already is. Step 1. Subtract before you add. Delete the habit tracker that grades your sleep like a report card. Cancel the course whose promise is a better you. Instead, sit in an empty room until the echo of your own breathing stops sounding like failure. Radical subtraction reveals the raw material. You discover urges that have no KPI. The itch to watch rain sodder the pavement. The irrational desire to bake bread at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. These are not inefficiencies. They are signals from a self that existed before the market renamed it. Step 2. Re-encode time. Replace the calendar grid with kairos, moments whose value is not duration, but depth. Virginia Woolf wrote to the lighthouse and burst between migraines. Proust composed in bed. Their metric was intensity, not efficiency. Schedule emptiness the way others schedule meetings, and guard with the ferocity of a dragon. Step 3. Craft an anti-brand. Speak of your flaws in public forums as one might share a favorite song. Watch the algorithm recoil. It does not know how to self-surrender. Soon others appear, confessing similar exhaustion, forming a loose archipelago of apostates. Collective refusal becomes a soft revolution. Step 4. Ritualize downward motion. Once a week, descend into a basement jazz club, into a forest ravine, into memory. Carry nothing that measures. Let gravity remind you that falling is also movement, and stillness is not the same as stasis. Step 5. Cultivate selective amnesia. Forget the quarterly self, the 5-year plan. Write the future on water, one ripple, then gone. Paradoxically, projects completed in the spirit arrive sooner and taste sweeter, because they were never fueled by the fear of inadequacy. You will still work, still build, still love, but the engine is no longer deficit. It is surplus. You move because movement delights the muscle, not because standing still feels like death. Hold this new stance lightly. Too much certainty becomes a next cage. In the final section, we will ask the ultimate question. When there is nothing left to optimize, what remains that is unmistakably you? Now stand at the edge of the last mirror. Behind you, the ladders lie in splinters. Ahead, only open air. You inhale and realize the air has no metric, no ppm of excellence, no calorie count, only presence. In that breath, you meet the final, most terrifying revelation. There never was a self to improve, only a story that improvement was necessary. What you called I was a composite of borrowed futures, each promise another brick mortared over present moment. Peel the story away, and what remains is not a better you, but the raw field of awareness in which every version of you appears and dissolves like weather. Nietzsche's Übermensch is not the one who climbs highest. It is the one who dances on the ruins of the ladder. He saw that the will to power culminates in the power to say enough. In that single syllable, the wheel of becoming stops. Yet the world keeps turning, more vivid than before, because it's no longer raw material for your ascent. Listen, the refrigerator still hums, sodium lamps still buzz, but now their indifference feels like mercy. You are no longer a project to be completed, but a candle already burning. The wax drips, the flame leans. There's your life, translucent and brief, casting one small circle of warmth against an enormous night. So walk back into the city. Fail at something on purpose. Laugh loudly in the vitamin aisle. Leave your phone at home and let the afternoon wander you like a stray dog. Each refusal is an offering to the unrepeatable moment. And when the algorithm sends one last notification, don't stop now, you're so close. Smile at the screen as at a child having a nightmare. Close it gently. The dark truth about self-improvement is that it ends the instant you recognize it was never your idea to begin with. What remains is not a perfected self, but the irreducible fact of being alive, brief, flawed, radiant. Carry that fact like a secret ember through the neon corridors. Wherever you stop, the light around you changes.